let's take another look, kind of a part 2, look at how you can empower yourself. You can guarantee, you know, poor little you, you're a victim out there in the world, you're all alone, you're trying to start something, nobody cares about you. How can you kind of take charge, power yourself up, and put yourself in a power position? We want to talk about 3 ideas that you need to be aware of. That are the great thing about these ideas, they're available to you just like they've been available to other people to use them. One thing is the Archimedes principle. Do you know, have you ever heard of this, the Archimedes principle? Here's how it goes. Archimedes was, I think, a Greek guy or something. And he said that if you give me a lever long enough, if you give me a long enough lever, here's old Archimedes. And he's sitting over here. He said, if you give me a thing long enough, a lever long enough, I can move the world. So let's say we've got the world over here. You know, monstrous. But he said, if you give me, put this on a scale of like 25,000 miles or something. But he said, if you give me a lever, I'll try and make this something close to straight, where I can go in here like that, then this is a lever, piece of wood or something, you know. I guess I'll forget what it is. But if it's long enough, I can tip the world. That's the Archimedes principle, that if you give, it has to do with leverage. How can you take yourself and give yourself more power than you would have on your own? Well, if I'm over here and I try and move the world by myself, can't do it. But if you give me a lever, see, this is how machinery and gears work. This multiplies my power. And I can go out there and I can move even the world. You know, he's just making a point. But let's go over here. So that's one way that by having tools, resources that you can engage. Like if I want to go out and I have something, you know, for some reason I stupidly want to go do something, work on my car. Okay, let's just say change a tire. Ever had a flat tire? Well, you get the flat tire out there. There you are. And this sucker is flatter than, you know, flatter than flat. So it's, you know, the axle's on the ground. So you're out there, and I got to change these 5 nuts in there. How am I going to get those? My fingers, I'm not strong enough to go in there and do that. I'll never get that off. Well, guess what? Nobody in the world's strong enough to do those with their fingers, dumbbell. Get a wrench. Get a tool, you know, a power tool, hand tool, something. Get a wrench, and you put that socket on there. You know, that it hooks on there like that. You got a long thing, and now when you put your power on, even weakling you can go out there and pop that thing loose, and you can, once you get it moving, then you can take them all off. See? It's just, this is a principle you can use in life. Archimedes was saying not only could you get the unscrew a lug nut off your tire, you could move the whole world if you had a lever long enough. So that's the whole idea. You're not, in other words, you're not totally a victim like people would make you. They would automatically start off thinking. You have tools. You can use resources. You can empower yourself. So that's the first one. Now let's go look at another principle here is to look at the idea of chopping a tree. Here's another example. You go out there and you have your, let's use green, we're in the forest. And so you're out here, again, practicing. And we've got, you know, the grass growing, everything's great. These drawings will be available online for you. You can purchase, have them lovely framed. Just kidding. So we have a monster tree. Trees actually aren't green, are they? I don't have brown on my color palette here. So you have this huge tree. You got yourself a redwood. And then pitiful you, here you're down here, you're the little guy down here with an axe, and you want to knock this thing down. For some reason, you know, you've got your thing and you're building, so you're swinging an axe. Whack, whack, whack. Now, here's the thing you know. If you're swinging that axe, eventually, what's going to happen? When you swing the first time, all you're going to do is get a chip. But if you keep swinging and taking those little chips out there, I don't care if you're a little girl. I don't care if you're a weakling. I don't care how much. If you can swing that axe and you can get a chip to come out of there, you can go up to, over time, and you keep swinging the mightiest redwood. I don't care if it's bigger than your car. You know, the trunk base of that thing, you could drive through. If you keep swinging, you keep knocking, eventually this thing has no choice. It's got to fall. Now, you want to make sure you're careful in doing this because you don't want to do all that and have it fall down and kill you. You know, there's a science about, you know, there's a little education there. But that's the point. You can chop this thing down with just you and an axe. This is a huge barrier. You're not totally, just because you swing one time and it doesn't fall down doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's a process. Stay with it. So that is example number 2, is chopping down the tree. Now let's look at another way of kind of combining these together, and you might make a little more sense. I like looking at it like the teeter-totter in the, well, let's use this. I like green. Here we are. Imagine the teeter-totter out in the schoolyard. You have something that supports it. And then you have the, you know, this board goes over here and you have a handle. And so let's just take this thing right here. Now let's take this, let's make it a little bit more even. Okay. Now you're sitting there and let's just say you've got something you want to do. You have a huge deal you want to do. And it's like a big barrier. It's like a big, it's a big rock. It's like a big rock. And you want to lift this thing. You want to get it up. And see, this is the obstacle. The obstacle could be whatever. You know, you want to start a business. And again, you know, learn a language, do this, other, but it's a huge obstacle. It's a lot of work. It's full of problems. It's just overwhelming obstacle. You know, you got to overcome all of these things to move this deal. And here, pitiful you. You know, what can you do? You know, you only have so much force. And you jump up and down on, I'll never move this thing. It's too huge. Yeah. But not really. Because you know what you can do? You can keep working on it. And you can go in and bring other resources. And you can get other tools. And you can bring get other people involved. And you can get other products involved. And you can get other techniques involved. And you can kind of figure out how to unravel some of these. You know, if it's a building project, I need the financing. I need the drawings. I need this, that. It's just too confusing. We'll never get it done. I got to get the permits. I've got to get this. You know, all of these things are just so overwhelming obstacles. Never get it done. Well, you unravel them one by one, and you start building up your side of the thing. We've got this done. We've got that done. We've got this done on our side. We figured that out. That's not enough. We've got one of ourselves. You keep stacking up all of these things that you can do on your side of it that gives you an advantage. And you know what happens? Eventually, you get so much. You've done so much work. You've got so much on your side of the thing. You know what's going to happen? You are going to overcome this thing, and you're going to lift it right out of the way. But you've got to put something up against it. You can't go through a snowball and knock a tree down. You've got to go in there and attack it. You've got to bring all the force. But if you put all the force, if you overcome it by putting the energy in there, you can overcome pretty much any obstacle you're going to face in life. Let's just say you got a health problem. Well, there's health problems that can't be solved, but there's most of them, a lot of them can be solved. You got to bring in the specialist. You got to go to the hospital. You got to change the diet. You got to get on the exercise routine. You got to change things. You got to get a different, nutrition thing. You've got, well, whatever all it takes. You got a different medicine, protocols, getting more experts in there. You keep putting energy coming down in here, and eventually, whatever this problem is, it's going to disappear. And if it doesn't disappear, you can greatly diminish it where it's not nearly the problem it was before. So those are things that you can use to go through life and assert yourself against all the obstacles in life and not have to be stopped and stalled to get to where you want to do. So that's another way of looking at overcoming obstacles in life and guaranteeing your success. We'll take a look at overcoming obstacles on another tape, but that gives you the picture. You are not a victim. You're not without resources. You don't have to just stop because something seems to be overwhelming the first time you take a look at it.